The ocean was calm. The night was dark. USS Indianapolis steamed alone through the Philippine Sea. No escort, no zigzag pattern, just straight ahead at 17 knots. At 02:27 in the morning, 2 torpedoes struck. In 9 minutes, the cruiser was gone. 880 men would die. USS Indianapolis was a Portland-class heavy cruiser, launched in 1931, displacing 9,950 tons, armed with 9 8-inch guns. 12 5-inch anti-aircraft guns. She was fast, capable of 32 knots, built for long-range operations in the Pacific. Indianapolis had served with distinction throughout World War II. She fought at the Gilbert Islands, the Marshall Islands, the Marianas, at Iwo Jima and Okinawa. She had been damaged by a kamikaze in March 1945, repaired and returned to duty. By July 1945, the war was nearly over. Germany had surrendered in May. Japan was collapsing. American bombers were destroying Japanese cities. The invasion of Japan was planned for November, but the war would not last that long, because Indianapolis had just completed the most secret mission of the war. She had transporting components of the atomic bomb, the bomb that would be dropped on Hiroshima, the weapon that would end the war. The mission was classified at the highest level. Only the captain knew the full details. Captain Charles McVeigh commanded Indianapolis. He was an experienced officer from a naval family. His father had been an admiral. On July 26th, Indianapolis delivered her cargo to Tinian Island. Mission accomplished. Now she was sailing to Leyte Gulf in the Philippines. There she would rejoin the fleet. Prepare for the invasion of Japan. It was a routine voyage, or so they thought. Indianapolis departed Guam on July 28, 1945, sailing alone, no escort vessels. This was not unusual in mid-1945. The Navy controlled the Pacific. Japanese surface forces were destroyed. Submarines were the only threat, but submarine attacks were rare now. The Navy had grown confident, complacent. Captain McVeigh requested an escort, standard procedure. But he was told none were available. He was told the route was safe. He was told not to worry. Indianapolis could make the voyage alone. She was fast. She could outrun any submarine. The route took her through the Philippine Sea, open ocean, deep water, sailing at 17 knots, not at full speed, conserving fuel, following a direct course. Navy doctrine required zigzagging, changing course every few minutes, making the ship harder to target, but zigzagging was only mandatory in high-threat areas or in good visibility. The judgment was left to the captain. The weather on July 29th was overcast. Visibility poor. McVeigh ordered standard steaming, no zigzag. This was within regulations. This was reasonable. This was accepted practice. The crew was relaxed. The war was almost over. They had survived. Soon they would go home. Many slept peacefully in their bunks. Nobody knew they were being hunted. Lieutenant Commander Mochitsura Hashimoto commanded Japanese submarine I-58. He was a veteran submariner, experienced, determined, one of the few still operating in the Pacific. By July 1945, the Japanese submarine force was decimated. Most submarines were sunk, crews were dead, fuel was scarce, torpedoes were limited. But I-58 was still hunting, still dangerous, still lethal. Hashimoto had sailed from Japan weeks earlier. His mission was simple: find American ships, sink them, disrupt the invasion preparations, go down fighting. This was the Japanese way. No surrender, death before dishonor. For weeks, I-58 had found nothing. The ocean was empty. American ships traveled in convoys, with escorts. With air cover, impossible to attack. Hashimoto was frustrated, running low on supplies, considering returning to Japan. Then, on the night of July 29th, his luck changed. At 23:00 hours, I-58 surfaced to recharge batteries. The night was dark, overcast, visibility poor, perfect for a submarine. At 23:30, a lookout spotted something. A dark shape on the horizon. A ship, alone, unescorted, heading straight toward them. Hashimoto could not believe it. An American warship, sailing alone in his patrol area. It was a gift. A final chance for glory. He ordered battle stations. I-58 maneuvered into position. Hashimoto tracked the target, using periscope and rangefinder. The ship was large, a cruiser steaming at steady speed, not zigzagging, just straight ahead. Perfect conditions for attack. The submarine moved into firing position ahead of the target's track, waiting. The range closed, 1,500 meters, 1,000 meters, 800 meters. Hashimoto could see the ship clearly now, American cruiser, Portland class. He identified her profile. She was enormous, a valuable target. Sinking her would be a significant achievement. The cruiser continued forward, unaware, no sign of detection, no change in course, no increase in speed. She was oblivious to danger. At 02:20 a.m. on July 30th, the range was perfect, 500 meters, point-blank range for submarine attack. Hashimoto had a perfect solution, perfect angle, perfect conditions. He gave the order, load tubes, prepare to fire. 6 Type 95 torpedoes, each carrying 550 kilograms of explosive, enough to destroy any ship. The crew responded, tubes flooded, outer doors opened, torpedoes armed and ready. Hashimoto aimed carefully, leading the target, accounting for speed and angle, then he fired. At 02:27 a.m. the first torpedo struck. It hit the starboard bow. The explosion was massive. A column of water shot into the sky. The bow section erupted. Steel plates peeled back. Seawater flooded in. 12 seconds later, the second torpedo hit, amidships directly under the forward turret. Another massive explosion. This one was worse, much worse. It struck near the fuel tanks, near the ammunition magazines. Secondary explosions followed, fuel ignited, ammunition cooked off. Fire spread instantly. The forward section of the ship was torn apart. The cruiser shuddered, slowed, listed to starboard. Below decks was chaos. Hundreds of men were sleeping. The explosions killed many instantly. Compartments flooded. Bulkheads collapsed. Men were trapped, drowning, burning, screaming. The forward engine room was destroyed. Steam lines ruptured. Scalding steam filled the compartments. Engineers died horrible deaths. The power failed. Lights went out. Emergency lighting flickered on, then died. On the bridge, Captain McVeigh was thrown against the bulkhead. He recovered quickly, assessed the situation. The damage reports were catastrophic. The ship was dying. He knew it immediately. He gave the order, abandon ship. But there was no time. The ship was sinking too fast. The bow was already underwater. The starboard list increased rapidly. 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees. The communication systems were destroyed. The order to abandon ship never reached most of the crew. Men below decks had no warning, no instructions. They struggled to escape through flooding compartments, up tilting ladders, through jammed hatches. The ship had no public address system working. Officers shouted orders. But in the chaos, few heard, few understood. Everyone knew what was happening. The ship was going down. Men poured onto the deck. Some grabbed life jackets. Others had none. Some found life rafts, most did not. They jumped into the water, into the darkness, into the all-covered sea. At 02:36 a.m., just 9 minutes after the first torpedo hit, Indianapolis rolled completely over. The stern rose into the air, propellers still slowly turning. The ship stood nearly vertical. Then she slid backward into the sea. The suction was powerful. Men swimming nearby were pulled under, dragged down by the sinking ship. Many never resurfaced. The ship fell into darkness, into the depths. 18,000 feet down, she was gone. Approximately 900 men escaped the sinking ship, out of 1,196 crew members. Floated in the darkness, in the middle of the ocean, in all-covered water. Many were injured, burned, broken bones, internal injuries. Some had life jackets, many did not. Some clung to debris, pieces of wood, empty shell casings, anything that floated. Some found life rafts, small inflatable rafts designed for a few men. Dozens crowded onto them. The water temperature was 85 degrees, warm, but constant immersion was deadly. Hypothermia would come eventually, even in warm water. But there were other threats, more immediate, more terrifying. The first shark appeared at dawn, drawn by blood, by splashing, by the smell of hundreds of men in the water. Then more sharks came, dozens, hundreds, oceanic white-tip sharks, tiger sharks, the most aggressive species. They circled, investigating. Testing, then they attacked. Men screamed, disappeared beneath the surface, pulled under, the water turned red. The sharks went into feeding frenzy. The survivors grouped together, kicked, splashed, tried to scare the sharks away. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it did not. One by one men vanished, dragged into the depths, and nobody was coming to rescue them. Indianapolis had sent no distress signal. The radio room was destroyed in the torpedo attack. No SOS, no mayday, no position report. Nobody knew the ship was sunk. The Navy did not track individual ship movements closely. In the chaos of 1945, with thousands of vessels operating, Indianapolis was just one ship. Her arrival at Leyte Gulf was expected on July 31st, but when she did not arrive, nobody noticed. Nobody checked. Nobody reported her missing. This was the fatal flaw in the system. No accountability. Ships got delayed, changed routes, arrived late. It was assumed Indianapolis was just delayed or diverted or operating under radio silence. Days passed. The survivors floated, suffering, dying from injuries, from exposure, from dehydration, from sharks, from drinking seawater. Men went mad, hallucinating, swimming away from the group, disappearing. Some fought each other, some gave up. Let themselves slip beneath the waves. The sun was merciless, burning exposed skin, causing dehydration. Men without water for days, their tongues swelled, their lips cracked. They died of thirst, surrounded by ocean. And still nobody was searching. On August 2nd, 1945, 4 days after the sinking, a miracle occurred. Lieutenant Wilbur Gwynn was piloting a PV-1 Ventura patrol bomber on a routine anti-submarine patrol over the Philippine Sea. At 11:25 a.m., he spotted something in the water, an oil slick. Unusual. He descended to investigate. Then he saw them, men, dozens of men floating in the ocean. He could not believe it. He immediately radioed. Many men in the water. He dropped survival gear, life rafts, water, supplies. He circled overhead, marking the position, protecting the survivors. Other aircraft arrived, ships were diverted. The destroyer USS Cecil Doyle was closest. She raced toward the location at full speed. Other vessels followed. The rescue operation began, but it was late, so late. The survivors had been in the water for 4 days. Most were barely alive. Delirious, burned, injured. Dying, the rescue took hours. Ships pulled men from the water, one by one, lifting them aboard, treating them, saving what they could. The final count was devastating. Of 1,196 men aboard Indianapolis, only 316 survived. 880 died. The worst single-ship disaster in U.S. Navy history. About 300 died in the sinking, killed by the torpedo explosions, trapped in flooded compartments. Drowned, burned. The remaining 600 made it into the water, then died over the following days. They died from injuries, from exposure, from dehydration, from shark attacks, from drinking seawater, from giving up, from going insane. The ocean killed them slowly, cruelly. The survivors were traumatized. Many suffered psychological wounds that never healed. They remembered the screams, the sharks, the friends who disappeared. The helplessness, the despair. Captain McVeigh survived. He was among those rescued, but his ordeal was just beginning. The Navy needed someone to blame. They chose him. He was court-martialed, charged with hazarding his ship, failing to zigzag, failing to protect his crew. It was unprecedented. No American captain had been court-martialed for losing a ship to combat action during the war. The trial was controversial. Many believed McVeigh was a scapegoat. But he was convicted. His career was destroyed. The real scandal was the Navy's failure. Indianapolis sent no distress signal. The Navy did not notice she was missing. For 4 days, 4 days while men died in the water. Nobody was searching. Nobody cared. The Navy tried to hide this failure. They blamed McVeigh. They blamed the captain for not zigzagging, but the evidence was clear. Zigzagging would not have saved the ship. I-58 had a perfect setup. The torpedoes would have hit regardless. The Navy had failed to provide an escort, failed to track ship movements, failed to notice when ships went missing, failed to search when they did not arrive. These failures killed 880 men, but the Navy blamed the captain. McVeigh appealed the verdict. It was overturned in some respects, but the damage was done. His reputation was ruined. He retired from the Navy. He tried to rebuild his life, But the guilt, the blame, the letters from families of dead sailors, it was too much. In 1968, Captain Charles McVeigh committed suicide. He shot himself on his front lawn. The guilt had consumed him. The blame had destroyed him. He was 70 years old. For decades, survivors of Indianapolis fought to clear his name. They knew the truth. The captain was not to blame. The Navy was at fault, but the Navy refused to admit it. In 2000, Congress passed a resolution exonerating Captain McVeigh, stating clearly that he was not responsible for the loss of Indianapolis. The resolution came too late. McVeigh had been dead for 32 years. In 2001, the Navy officially cleared McVeigh's record, acknowledged the unfairness of the court-martial, admitted the systemic failures that led to the disaster. It was vindication, but it could not undo the injustice, could not bring back the dead, could not heal the wounds. For 72 years, Indianapolis lay undiscovered, 18,000 feet down, in the Philippine Sea. The location was uncertain. The ocean was vast. Finding the wreck seemed impossible. In August 2017, a civilian expedition led by Paul Allen located the wreck. Using advanced sonar, deep-sea submersibles, they found her on the ocean floor, broken but recognizable. The hull was split, the bow section separate from the stern, debris scattered across the seabed, but the ship was intact enough to identify the gun turrets, the superstructure, the propellers. The Navy declared the site a war grave, protected under federal law. No salvage permitted, no disturbance allowed. The wreck is where 880 men died. It is sacred ground. The ship rests where she fell, a monument to tragedy, to sacrifice, to injustice. USS Indianapolis represents the worst disaster in U.S. Navy history, not just in lives lost, but in the failures that followed, the lack of accountability, the scapegoating, the cover-up. 9 minutes. That was how long the ship took to sink, from torpedo impact to disappearing beneath the waves. 9 minutes of chaos, terror, death, then 4 days of horror, men dying slowly in the ocean, while nobody searched, nobody cared. The survivors carried the memory forever. The screams, the sharks, the friends who died, the guilt of survival. Many never fully recovered. The trauma was permanent. Captain McVeigh paid the ultimate price, blamed for failures that were not his, destroyed by a Navy that refused to accept responsibility. His suicide was the final casualty of Indianapolis. Today, we remember the 880 men who died. We honor their sacrifice. We acknowledge the injustice done to their captain, and we learn the lessons. That accountability matters, that blame must be placed correctly, that the truth must be told. 9 minutes doomed them all.